Hey everybody, I wanted to come on and share the things that God has been dealing with me about, and also the things I believe He's revealed to me in the past about 4 months. I felt like it was necessary for me to do this video because I feel like, especially in the Black community, we hold so tight to tradition and doing what has always worked that I believe a lot of us get stuck in cycles. And it's very rare to see someone move beyond what they've already seen been done. And the past 4 months have definitely challenged me on that. If I go back to December, I accepted a new position. Came with more responsibility, and I was ready for it. I didn't immediately move into the position because we were kind of understaffed. So I stayed in my position to make sure everything was covered. And in the new year, first of all, I knew God kind of showed me that this year would be different because, the new year, January 1st, not even 30 minutes after the year had began, me and a few co-workers, while we were at work, almost witnessed a man die. This man just came to work, probably had just celebrated with his family, and next thing you know, he was found unconscious. Literally, we thought he was gonna die. And so it was one of those surreal moments that puts life in perspective. And so I knew this year would be peculiar. And so I ended up finally moving into the new position about a week later. But my boss ended up getting sick. And so he was out for almost 2 months. And I really didn't get trained. So I was really performing this position off of common sense and just God. So around the very beginning of March, my boss returned to work. And soon after that, I went on vacation. Nothing wrong. Everything's fine. When I come back, I went overnight like I used to because another partner wanted to go on vacation. Nothing was wrong. I went to work, was fine, enjoyed my coworkers. But then all of a sudden, I started to have this feeling like I don't want to go here. And every day it increased. I started to have anxiety about going to the job. And I could not explain what was happening. But yet and still it increased. I started to have anxiety attacks on the way to work. And I couldn't explain it. I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's triggering this, but I literally don't feel like I want to be here. I had been doing this job for almost 4 years, and 2 years before that, I had done the same job. I had just came back once I returned to Houston. No problems until this moment. And yet it increased. I started to literally cry on the way to work. When I was at work, my spirit was just so bothered. I could not find any peace. Until one day I was at work and it was so bad. I literally had to tell my boss, look, I have to go. I need to leave. I don't feel well. I just need to leave. And I probably had worked a little more than half of my shift that day. So I left. And he knew something was wrong because then he called me and he was like, do you need the next day off? And I was like, that actually would be nice. So I did that. And then I think right after that I had an off day anyway, so I was off like 3 or 4 days straight. Now, mind you, I had just taken vacation. I had a 2 week vacation, and then all of this started happening. I come back to work, and I'm scheduled at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm coming in, helping the overnight crew, getting everything settled and ready for the rest of the day. And then my boss shows up at like 6 a.m. and he walks over to me and he's like, how are you doing? And I go to explain to this man how I'm doing, and I burst into tears. I knew it threw him off, and it caught him off guard, and because it caught me off guard. Because anyone who knows me knows I do not cry, especially in front of people. So I literally had to walk off because it was like the emotion was so overwhelming. I couldn't even speak. So I had to go sit down, and he followed me, and we sat and talked. And I was telling him like maybe I should I'm like, I feel like I need some time off. I need to step away. And he was like, okay. He asked me how much time I needed, and that's why I said I give it a month. And so he obliged. He was like, okay, you gotta do what you gotta do. And I was like, I don't know what's going on with me mentally. Like I cannot tell you what's happening to me. And like, but a little bit I knew, but for a person that has been in survival mode all their life, and then that's all I've seen, to think about leaving a secure job sounds insane. And so I literally was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I was like, well, maybe I should also step down since I'm going to be taking some time away. I don't think that's fair to the team. He talked me out of that. And so I was like, okay. So I agreed to at least finish out the week. And then I went on this month sabbatical. I mean, the minute I agreed to take the time off, it's like this weight lifted off of me. And I was like, And then once I was actually off, my peace returned to me. And I knew immediately what God was telling me. He was telling me to quit my job. And I was like, but that sounds so irresponsible. It doesn't sound smart. It doesn't sound logical. It doesn't make sense. But every time, like once we started getting closer to the time that I was supposed to return, he called me or he texted me asking me if he could put me on the schedule for like maybe 2 weeks out. And immediately when I read it, the anxiety started to build. And I was like, I'm not ready. And so he was like, okay, at least another week. So I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, I say 2 weeks. And if I change them, if I come to a decision before then, I'll let you know. Now, mind you, my job wasn't that far away from my home. So I was always in the store while I was out. And when I would be in the store, I'd be fine. But the thought of going back to work just had this anxiety build up in me. And what's funny is God was also doing a work in me, because when I stepped away, I knew at the end of the month, like right after my birthday, which is April 26th, I was going to the conference. I was going to Tiffany Montgomery's conference, the Millions Conference, which was in our city. And God was speaking to me there. And so I was like, okay. Like I felt like he was building me. He was strengthening me in spirit for whatever he was getting me to go into. And now, mind you, her Millions Conference is for believers who are entrepreneurs. And so I just felt like I needed to be there, and conveniently, it was in our city. So I was like, okay, I hear you, God. But something that kept bothering me about myself is even though I felt like God was telling me to quit, I couldn't move on it. I could not step out and just do it. I was thinking about what this person would feel like, what this person would say, how people would look at me, like, what are you gonna do? Like, what's your plan? Like, I had all these things going on in my mind, yet it wasn't changing the fact that I believe God is telling me to leave this job. So it finally got to the point where it was like, do you believe God told you to quit this job? And I must feel like, yes, I do believe God is telling me to quit my job. And so the alternative is, if you stay at the job and you believe God is telling you to quit, what does that mean? What is that saying? And to me, I believe it said that though I say I believe in God and I trust Him, I don't trust Him fully like I thought. I've made my job my source out instead of my resource. Just like God allowed me to get that job and all the blessings He allowed me to experience at that job. He's the Almighty. He can do it. He can make anything happen. But I was really questioning, like, I literally was in turmoil because I had to face the fact that I wasn't fully living in faith. I was confident in my work skill. I was comfortable with the pay I was making. And my survival mindset made me question being obedient to God. And so I had to sit with that, and I finally decided to make the decision to quit. Because I'm like, if I say I trust Him, if I say He's my provider, and I believe He's told me to quit, why haven't I moved on it? And so I finally did. I reached out to my boss and I told him I had made the decision to not return. He was okay. He was like, okay, do what's best for you. You gotta take care of yourself. And I was happy. I was proud of myself. But immediately, the enemy started working. Like, he started trying to get worry to build in me. He started to get me to fear. Like, okay, so now what? Now what are you gonna do about your bills? What are you gonna do about this and this and this? What if your business doesn't succeed? All of these things are just hitting me like at once, like, and it was really bad one day. Really bad one day. I did not plan on getting emotional. To the point where I had typed up a suicide note in my phone. Cause I was so overwhelmed. I was feeling like a failure. And I was just ready to stop. I felt like, you know, my life had been difficult enough. I had been through enough stuff, and I'm like, I don't think I want to do it. I want to do this. And right as I was doing that, my sister called me on FaceTime. And I guess she could tell that I was crying. And so she was like, "What's going on with you?" And I wouldn't say anything. And I think she kind of figured something was off. So she texted me. No, I texted her and I asked her what made her message me or call me at that moment. And she was like, "I don't know, God I felt like I needed to call you." And she literally made me get up out the bed and we went riding. We just got in the car and left and just went riding. Man, the mercy of God and the grace of God. Ain't nothing like it. Nothing is like it. I have had people tell me I was making a mistake. They didn't think it was wise for me to leave my job before I had a plan. And I'm like, I understand that. I literally dealt with that very thought myself. But I believe God was putting me in a position to increase my faith. Because for what he wants to do in my life, it's going to require it. And so every day, I am trusting him. Some days are better than others. Some days I am full of joy. Some days I am irritated. Some days I am trying to figure out, okay, now what am I supposed to do? Okay, what else am I supposed to do? What else can I do? Where is this gonna come from? But so far, he's provided. I am yet trusting him, believing that he will do what he said. But I am learning that I believe that I'm what the Bible calls the repairer of the breach. And so there are going to be some things I know I have to go through that nobody else in my family has had to go through. And that's difficult sometimes, but to accept the fact that there is a responsibility that I have for myself, for the kingdom, for my family, for those who are attached to my life. Boy, it's weighty, but it's also an honor because I know I serve a God who can do all things. He makes all things work for my good. He can touch the heart of anyone to do his will, to get his will done in the earth. He is who he says he is. And no matter what opposition or obstacles I come up against, At the end of the day, he's in control. He's outside of time and he knows what needs to be done, when and how, and who needs to do it. And so I'm trusting him to do what he said he's gonna do. And I just want people to know that every season isn't gonna be pretty. It's not always going to be fun. It's not always gonna look like what you expected. But when you trust him, you align with him, and you allow him to use you and have his way, he's gonna get the glory. So you can expect amazing things to happen, because we're here to give him glory. And so if your life isn't giving him glory, that's a problem. I believe that by stepping out and trusting him, my life is going to put his glory on display. It's going to make people question how. And the only explanation will be him. Because it sure ain't me. But I was built for it. He created me to take this on. And I know it's not going to be an easy journey, because I've never seen it done. And I really don't know what all it's going to take. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see how he allows everything to unfold. How he allows me to tap into everything that he's allowed me to experience in order to complete the purpose that he has for my life. It's real out here, but I serve an awesome God. I do. I serve an awesome God. And I believe we're about to see him do some incredible things on the earth through his people, those who are yielded and ready to be used. We're going to shake the world. I hope y'all are standing with him and are ready to move wherever he has us move. That's definitely out. Bye-bye.